Chapter 3: The Roman Republic. A boy visits Rome. Lucius dressed in the dark. Almost everyone in his grandfather's villa or country house was asleep. Only the people who worked in the kitchen were awake. They got up early every day to prepare their morning meal. Lucius was about to try driving a chariot. It was a children's chariot, towed by a goat instead of a horse. Still, he was very excited. Lucius ran barefoot over the stone floors of the villa. He carried his sandals until he reached the path through the outer garden. He put on his sandals and followed the path to the long driveway. Simon, a Greek servant who worked for Lucius's family, waited by the chariot holding the long reins. Simon was Lucius's friend and teacher. "Go slowly until you reach the road," Simon warned. Lucius gripped the reins. He almost fell off the chariot. When the chariot lurched forward, the chariot quickly reached full speed. Simon ran behind, shouting. It was a wild ride. Lucius eventually got the goat under control. He was able to guide the chariot in a large circle back to the villa. There he saw Simon looking embarrassed. He also saw his father looking angry. "Your mother better not hear of this boy," said Lucius's father. "Simon, take that goat back to the field. Lucius, go inside and find a warm cape. We go to Rome today." "Yes, father," said Lucius, and he ran to find his cape. Today he would ride in his father's chariot too. Lucius was a patrician. That meant that his family had great wealth and power. His grandfather was a Roman senator. His father was an army commander who had led a legion of 5,000 to 6,000 soldiers. The family villa was surrounded by a large farm. Hundreds of enslaved people worked on the farm, making olive oil and wine. Lucius's family sold the oil and wine in nearby Rome. Only a few Roman families were patricians. These families were very powerful. They controlled the government and the army. What about the ordinary Roman citizen? These people were called plebeians. Most plebeians were poor working men and women. Early in the Republic, the patricians had almost all the power. They guarded their power and gave very little to the plebeians. The plebeians could make some laws in their assembly, but the patrician Senate controlled the government. The Senate decided how the government's money was spent. It was also decided who worked for the government and when Rome would make war and peace. Each year, 2 patricians were elected to serve as consuls. The consuls commanded the army and made sure laws were carried out. They also led meetings of the Senate. When Rome went to war, the consuls sometimes chose a dictator to lead the country. The dictator had complete control over Rome. Everyone had to do what he said. The dictator's job was to make sure that Rome was safe and that the army got whatever it needed to win the war. Dictators had great power, but they were allowed to run Rome only for 6 months. Lucius and his father arrived in Rome shortly after sunrise. The city was quite empty at that hour. They walked across the Forum in the center of Rome and found a place to sit. They watched as shops opened for the day and Romans crossed the Forum on their way to work. Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus. Lucius, the great city, was built by people of honor, his father said. They served Rome because it was their duty. They wanted nothing for themselves. One of the greatest of these people was Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus. You were named for him. Cincinnatus had a small farm on the Tiber River, not far from the city, Lucius' father continued. One day he was plowing his fields when messengers came to him. They asked him to go with them to the Senate. Cincinnatus was covered with dirt from his work, but he put on his toga and crossed the Tiber to Rome. When Cincinnatus reached the city, the senators said that he had been chosen as dictator. They told him that an enemy force had trapped the entire Roman army in a mountain pass. The army would be destroyed unless help arrived soon. Cincinnatus ordered every shop in the city to be closed. He ordered every man and boy in the city to meet in a field with his weapons. Everyone was given a job, and soon they were ready to march. Cincinnatus led this citizen army to the rescue. They saved the Roman army. The next day, Cincinnatus returned to the Senate. He told the senators that the army had been saved, and then he returned to his farm. This great Roman wanted nothing from Rome except a chance to do his duty. That's why I name you Lucius. I want you to remember your duty as a Roman.